assess those and make recommendations for addressing them. So my bottom line here is that I am not comfortable voting on the ordinance without seeing the policy paper. And waiting until August allows us to see both of these documents at the same time before finalizing either. And that to me makes for a much better decision going forward. So for that reason, I am opposed to voting yes to approve the introduction of the ordinance this evening. Very important committee, but I would prefer to look at both and then do the formal introduction in August, when it would be easier to make a few changes to the ordinance language prior to the formal introduction. That's it. Thank you.
So to address, I will, in 1 second, so I will open it up for commentary. I just want to address a couple things. First, Ms. Wilson mentioned a standing committee, Transportation and Circulation Standing Committee. So a standing committee, just so the public understands, traditionally standing committees have been operational committees. We have a standing committee that oversees sewer operations, standing committee that oversees DPW, standing committee that oversees engineering, finance, et cetera, et cetera. This year, this body reconfigured the standing committees to a certain extent. We combined a couple, and we created 2 visionary standing committees which don't have responsibility for any operations. One of those standing committees is Transportation and Circulation, because we wanted to be visionary about how the township could address this very important issue. The other standing committee that is more visionary, as I say, is one that's called Environment, Sustainability, and Energy, and that's another one that we created as a visionary standing committee. So that's what Kathy meant when she talked about being head of the standing committee. And Kathy and Mark are on this Transportation and Circulation Advisory Committee. They have done a tremendous amount of work bringing us to this point to be able to bring this ordinance to the township. Kathy, I understand your frustration. She has put in a lot of work putting background information together about reasons for needing this ordinance, the responsibilities that she wants to see this committee take on, and her vision for how this could be executed. Other members of this body feel differently, that the ordinance should be more slimmed down, and that we'll have the second policy paper. One promise I will make to you, Ms. Wilson, is that I know you want to see the policy paper. I will not vote on a second reading of this ordinance until we have that policy paper in place, so that we all can have an educated view of how this might be implemented. Although I must say that even with the policy paper in place, I do want to empower the committee itself. I don't want to give them too much direction. We want to give them some guidance, but like EDAC, they should be able to come up with their own strategic plan about how they view transportation and circulation within the community. The way we've structured this ordinance, both you and Mr. Jorpy, as being on the standing committee, would be on that committee to help guide them with your own personal views about how, and Mark's personal views about how they should be doing their work. But I just wanted the public to understand that perspective of where you're coming from, where the rest of the committee might be coming from, and how my vision of how we should proceed on this ordinance, that we will have this policy document in place before a second read and final vote.
I just want to highlight, you are aware that in the ordinance that established EDAC, there's a specific language in the ordinance directing EDAC to develop a strategic plan.
Yes, and then there we have other committees, historic preservation and environmental and such that don't, and parks and recreation. So
it can go either way.
It can go either way. But the way we've drafted it and the way the rest of the committee feels comfortable moving forward tonight is the way it's been presented. So I understand your position, and I do appreciate all of the work that you've done to bring us to this point. It's been a tremendous amount of work, and you've done a great job, quite frankly.
Can I say one other thing relevant to what you're talking about? The biggest struggle, at least for me personally, in working on this topic is something I've been passionate about for years, and this is hard. It's complex. There's a lot of complexities here, and like I said, one of our biggest struggles has been to strike that right balance between generic and ongoing versus specific and changing, you know, to capture in the ordinance what you want the committee to do on an ongoing basis. I've talked with so many residents about sidewalks, and I've said in canvassing, you know, I want you to be part of my sidewalk committee. I have a lot of ideas about what I would like the sidewalk group to do, so to speak. And so, you know, in working with this, I got overly specific. I had to learn, you gotta back off and not be so specific. So that's been, for me, part of the challenge, getting that right balance, general, specific.
And as I said, as a member of the standing committee, you will be on this committee, and you will be able to give them your vision for how they should move forward. But again, we want to empower our people, just like we've empowered you guys to come up with a strategic plan. Empower the residents who have a passion about this as well.
I totally get
Work with
empowerment,
that.
but there's only 2 real actions that are in this ordinance, and I question if the people on the committee are gonna have sufficient direction to know what to do. But this is part of my hesitation on the ordinance as it's written.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mankisi, you had a comment?
Thank you. I admire your passion and your thought process about this, and there's not a lot to disagree with what you said generically. But my feeling is that this ordinance is written in simple language, and it gives us the opportunity to, if and when needed, to change it. If policy shifts, the ordinance will change with it. It's as simple as that.
And to add to what you say, you know, if we put too much policy, just so the public understands, if you put too much policy into the ordinance and then you want to change that policy, you actually have to reintroduce the ordinance. You know, so keeping it, I don't want to say generic, but keeping it slimmed down gives the committee more latitude to take their own actions as they see fit. Mr. George?
Yeah, first of all, Kathy and I have been working probably on this since January when we reorganized, and it's been a major goal of ours to